Good evening. I'm Nima and this is Forum Daily for Thursday, June 30th. We begin in Ottawa on the last leg of a Canadian veteran's 4-month march against COVID-19 vaccine requirements. James Topp has led supporters across the country on foot, starting in Vancouver. His arrival kicks off what organizers promise will be a new wave of protests all summer long. His march is supported by several Conservative MPs and many of the people who supported the Freedom Convoy. Mr. Topp says he is marching to get all vaccine mandates repealed, and he's demanding the rehiring of anyone who lost their job because of the mandates, as well as compensation for lost wages. Turning to a recent move by the Supreme Court of Canada, in a 6-3 decision, the court has upheld expansions to Canada's rape shield laws. The court says the changes the Liberals made 4 years ago are entirely constitutional. They further prevent a sexual assault complainant's past from being used against them in a trial. The Criminal Code says a complainant's prior sexual activities that are unrelated to the charges at hand can only be admitted as evidence with permission of a judge following a private hearing. In 2018, the Liberals expanded the definition of what that evidence includes to add communications of a sexual nature, such as emails and videos. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is confirming that Canada will be sending more troops to Latvia. This is part of a promise to upgrade the NATO battle group it leads there to a brigade. He also announced more military equipment for Ukraine. This is including up to 39 armored combat support vehicles and 6 Canadian-made drone cameras. Mr. Trudeau also said Canada will take part in this November's G20 summit in Bali, even if Russian President Vladimir Putin shows up. Statistics Canada reports gains for Canada's economy, which grew 0.3% in April. The agency reports that the sectors that did the heavy lifting in April were the mining, quarrying, and oil and gas extraction sectors, as well as the accommodation and food services sectors and the arts, entertainment, and recreation sectors. But it's also estimating the economy contracted by 0.2% in May. We won't get the official reading until the end of July. All right, well, back in the capital, Ottawa is keeping current COVID-19 public health measures in place for travelers entering Canada. This is including the use of the ArriveCAN app. The Public Health Agency of Canada says it is working toward relocating COVID-19 testing for air travelers outside of airports to allow them to select test provider stores, pharmacies, or by virtual appointment. These measures have been extended until September 30th. Get ready to roll up your sleeve this fall for a COVID-19 vaccine booster shot. The National Advisory Committee on Immunization is recommending boosters in advance of a possible next wave of infections. NACI says Canadians should get boosters no matter how many shots they've had already. All right, well, on the West Coast, BC Public Safety Minister Mike Farnworth says he expects water and sewer systems and many houses to be rebuilt by this time next year. He says 90% of the village of Lytton burnt to the ground during a record-setting heat wave. Mr. Farnworth says many people are frustrated by the slow pace of reconstruction. This comes as the province works with First Nations to recognize an important archaeological site, which has made rebuilding complex. In Winnipeg, Métis graphic designer Sean Vincent has created the logo for next month's papal visit. It features a blue circle with soaring eagles, salmon, and a caribou herd, as well as peace doves and a set of keys to represent the Roman Catholic Church. Mr. Vincent explains that in a circle, all are equal and all are visible. Pope Francis starts his Canadian visit in Edmonton, July 24th. Moving to the east now, where women on Prince Edward Island now have increased access to treatment and recovery from addiction and substance use. A new extended addictions care facility opened on June 1st. The facility replaced Lacey House, which operated for more than 30 years. The new facility offers 12 client residential spaces for a maximum 90-day stay. Joanne Donahoe, Health PEI's Executive Director of Mental Health and Addictions, says the new facility is an essential step to provide better access to care. Well, if you're hoping to fire up the barbecue this Canada Day long weekend, you're in for some major sticker shock. Food prices soared 9.7% in May compared to the same time last year. But prices for many barbecue favorites like steaks and veggies have increased even more. The cost of hosting a barbecue this long weekend for 8 adults and 8 children would be $302. This is more than 17% higher than it would have been in 2021. We'll be right back. Millennials and Gen Z continue to be a growing force in the investing world following the initial spike in the pandemic. This comes as investing itself has become convenient and accessible through the rise of investment apps. However, easy investment doesn't necessarily mean smart investment, at least according to the pros in the field, because when it comes to your money, trusted advice and research is key to making the right moves. Well, joining us now to give us his advice when it comes to investing among millennials and Gen Z is Brendan Caldwell, Director of Caldwell Securities Limited. Brendan, welcome back to Forum Daily.
Thank you, Nima, and happy Canada Day.
Happy Canada Day. Now, as I mentioned, a lot of millennials and Gen Z are investing through investment apps, and a lot of the times they're not getting the expert advice they need to let their money grow. So what is the true cost of investing on your own, Brendan?
I think the cost is in not having a way of bouncing your ideas off of and testing them for consistency. You could be the greatest investor in the world. I don't know that you are, because I think actually the greatest investor in the world currently deals with our firm. But even for him, having some entity that you're working with, some people, a team, an advisor that you're working with, to be able to both generate ideas, bounce ideas off, provide execution services. There's a lot that a firm that provides advice and research can do. So if you are indeed the best investor in the world, and I'm wrong about my client, what you still need is a way to keep you consistent. And the lack of consistency, particularly if you're just developing an investment strategy, you don't know what works. But where I've had the most productive conversations with my clients is helping them to see whether something that has worked in the past is consistent with what they're wanting to do in the future. And that conversation is worth more than the few bucks a share that it might cost to actually make the transaction.
And on that point, Brendan, you have decades of experience in the finance industry. So from that experience, what is it actually like working in this world?
You couldn't have said years, you had to say decades, didn't you, Nima? I love it. It's a wonderful, I just had lunch with one of my friends. He's a good client and a good friend. And his mom and dad, who passed away in their 90s, were good clients and good friends. I gave the eulogy at his dad's funeral. The close bond that I've made, one young fellow joined us from one of those discount firms. And he was amazed because at a discount firm, you're sort of a number. They don't know you. But everyone I go out to meet with one of my clients, I'd have 20, 30-year stories, Nima, about these people. So for me, it's been wonderful because it's been allowed me to be an important part of people's lives for many years and indeed, yes, decades.
Now, when it comes to millennials and Gen Z, they have a lot going on, and a lot of the times they're young students. So how can they balance having a diversified portfolio, watching the markets and the news, all while maintaining grades, jobs, and a social life, Brendan? Is that realistic?
Well, I don't think the investing part should, normally speaking, take up more than the social life part. If it is in your teens and 20s, there's something very, very wrong. But at the risk of sounding like a broken record, as though a Gen Z or millennial know what a record looks like a broken record, I would say that the thing that they have that I don't have, because I've got decades of experience, they've got decades of time. And time ultimately is more valuable than money. So the best thing for them to do is whatever they slightly can't afford, if it's $50 a month, $100, $500, put some money away on a regular basis and allow it to grow. Because if nothing else, it'll allow you to think more clearly about the next purchase or the next opportunity or issue that arises. If having a little bit of money set aside that dollar cost averages its way into growth, that's the great advantage they have.
All right, Brendan, about a minute left here, but let's get into the types of investments out there. We're seeing a lot of popularity among this demographic when it comes to cryptocurrencies. So what is the difference between investing in the stock market versus crypto, and is there a better choice between the two?
Well, I think we're at that phase, and I think we've talked about this before, where the first generation of cryptocurrency is crashing like the first .coms crashed 20 odd years ago. It's never my father has a wonderful expression, a little morbid, but it's the second mouse that gets the cheese. Think about it for half a moment. So that in this first generation, we've seen that have a big run up and a big crash. And I can't tell you that the crash in crypto is over, but the blockchain cryptocurrency technology will, I believe, power the coming decades. So having some exposure to that as part of one's overall portfolio, I think makes some sense. I don't think it's a dichotomy, this or that, technology or the stock market. They inevitably, the best ideas become part of the stock market. So I would incorporate something of that into what you own.
Welcome back. Up next, we have our crypto and digital asset update with Bobby Del Rio, global cryptocurrency Web3 consultant. Take it away, Bobby.
Thanks, Nima. I'm Bobby Del Rio, and this is your weekly crypto hit. Bitcoin briefly falls below $19,000, trading around the $20,000 mark most of the week. Top Bitcoin holder Michael Saylor purchased another $10 million this week. The leading BTC holder in the world has an average price of approximately $30,000 per coin for his treasure chest of HODL gold. Gary Gensler, SEC chair, very unambiguously has labeled Bitcoin a commodity, while the other 19,000 plus cryptocurrencies likely fall into the securities category. Unregistered securities have very stringent regulations in the United States. So it's big news. The crypto fallout continues, with Celsius and Three Arrows Capital continuing to spiral downwards. Now, since the collapse of the Terra Luna ecosystem weeks ago, over $50 billion of losses have been directly correlated to the UST algorithmic stablecoin fall from grace. Countries around the world have reacted by expediting crypto regulation proposals, with stablecoins firmly in the center of rigorous criteria. Magic Eden, the largest NFT platform for the Solana blockchain, just raised another $130 million. So their valuation is currently $1.6 billion. It's pretty good for a bear market. And with Ethereum merging, they've been delaying the merge multiple times. How competitive will the NFT marketplace become? NFT NYC was a very successful Web3 conference. Over 10,000 people attended from all over the world. Now, small protests did emerge. They were very anti-crypto in nature, and we are starting to see some political antagonism from a small segment of the general population. Now, overall, the cryptocurrency market has had a very difficult June, losing billions of dollars this month alone. And while the long-term outlook for cryptocurrencies is mostly unchanged, short-term, this is a tremendous bear market that doesn't seem to be ending anytime soon, particularly as interest rates keep climbing to battle inflation. And that's the crypto market update this week. I'm Bobby Del Rio. Back to you, Nima.
All right, thanks for that, Bobby. Sounds like June really has been a tough month for cryptocurrencies. That was our crypto and digital asset update with Bobby Del Rio, a global cryptocurrency Web3 consultant. All right, well, meanwhile, the OPEC oil cartel and allied producing nations are going to boost production of crude oil by 648,000 barrels per day in August. But that probably won't do much to relieve the high gasoline prices and energy-fueled inflation plaguing the global economy. OPEC could help lower prices by increasing production, but many oil-producing countries are struggling to produce as much as the group's decisions set out. Europe is preparing to take the global lead in regulating the freewheeling cryptocurrency industry. This comes during a time when prices have plunged, wiping out fortunes, fueling skepticism, and sparking calls for tighter scrutiny. The European Union took a first step late Wednesday by agreeing on new rules. They subject cryptocurrency transfers to the same money laundering rules as traditional banking transfers. A much bigger move is expected when EU negotiators hammer out the final details on a separate deal Thursday night for a sweeping package of crypto regulations. Like the EU's data privacy policy that became the de facto global standard, the crypto regulations are expected to be highly influential worldwide. Turning to Germany's vice chancellor, who says he suspects that Russia may not resume gas deliveries to Europe, through the Nord Stream 1 pipeline. He believes the gas will stop coming after planned maintenance work in July. Russia reduced gas flows to Germany, Italy, Austria, and the Czech Republic, as well as Slovakia this month. This comes as European Union countries scramble to refill storage facilities to meet winter demand. Russian state-owned energy giant Gazprom has blamed a technical problem for the reduction in gas flowing through Nord Stream 1, which runs under the Baltic Sea from Russia to Germany. German leaders have rejected the explanation and called the reductions a political move. Vice Chancellor Robert Habeck said Thursday that a blockade of the pipeline is possible starting July 11th. All right, moving to the U.S., where Ketanji Brown Jackson has been sworn into the Supreme Court. She shatters a glass ceiling as the first Black woman on the nation's highest court. The 51-year-old is the court's 116th justice, and she took the place of Justice Stephen Breyer. Justice Jackson recited the two oaths required of Supreme Court justices, one administered by Justice Breyer and the other by Chief Justice John Roberts. Justice Jackson extended her thanks to her new colleagues for their gracious welcome. Starting in 2026, packaged foods containing more than 15% of the suggested daily value of saturated fat, sugars, or sodium will feature a nutrition warning label. The labels are intended to help shoppers make healthier choices. Stay with us. More coming up next. NATO is facing rebukes from Moscow and Beijing. This comes after it declared Russia a direct threat and said that China posed serious challenges to global stability. The Western Military Alliance just wrapped up a summit in Madrid where it invited Sweden and Finland to join the organization. Russian President Vladimir Putin said he would respond in kind if the Nordic nations allowed NATO troops and military infrastructure onto their territory. China accused the alliance of maliciously attacking and smearing the country. This was after NATO leaders said Beijing strives to subvert the rules-based international order. Well, as the war on Ukraine continues, communities that were badly damaged early in the invasion are starting to rebuild. Villages such as Yahidne in the northern Chernihiv region are gradually returning to life a few months after Russian troops retreated. Now people are repairing homes, and volunteers from all over Ukraine and around the world are coming to help. This is because there is so much to do before another winter approaches. One volunteer rebuilding group is called Dobrobat. The name combines Dobro, which means kindness, with Bat for battalion. Turning to recent news in the U.S., where President Joe Biden said virtually that he would support eliminating the Senate filibuster to protect access to abortion. This comes after the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. The president said on Thursday there should be an exception to the filibuster for this action to deal with the Supreme Court decision. At least two Democratic senators do not want to change the filibuster rule, which closes off such an avenue to address abortion. Well, after 4 years of negotiations, the European Union and New Zealand say they have concluded a free trade deal. According to the EU, trade with New Zealand is expected to increase by 30% as a result of the deal. Removing tariffs alone saves businesses 140 million euros in duties per year. The 27-nation bloc said Thursday that EU investment flows into New Zealand could increase by over 80%. Bilateral trade in goods between the two partners has risen steadily in recent years, reaching almost 7.8 billion euros in 2021. The EU is New Zealand's third biggest trade partner. Pounding rain following weeks of heavy downpours has triggered a mudslide in northeast India. It killed at least 14 people and left more than 30 others missing. Disaster response workers, police, and local villagers are trying to rescue those buried under the debris in Noni, a town in Manipur state. An official says 7 of the confirmed dead were members of a volunteer army, and the missing include 5 Indian railway officials. Continuous rainfall over the past 3 weeks has wreaked havoc across India's northeast and in neighboring Bangladesh. Around 200 people have been killed in heavy downpours and mudslides in India's northeast in recent weeks. Moving to the German government, which has presented plans to make it easier for transgender people to legally change their name and gender. Under the planned self-determination law, adults would be able to change their first name and official gender at registry offices. Germany's existing transsexual law took effect in 1981. It requires individuals to obtain 2 expert assessments and a court's authorization for a legal gender change. Germany's Minister for Families says the current rules are humiliating and superfluous. In Sudan, a medical group says 7 people were killed in anti-coup rallies during which protesters denounced the country's military rulers. They also demanded an immediate transfer of power to civilians. The Sudan Doctors Committee said in a tweet that security forces shot and killed 7 people during the rally on Thursday in Omdurman. The committee, which tracks casualties during protests, said the identity of those killed wasn't immediately known. Police fired tear gas at thousands of demonstrators trying to reach the Republican Palace in the heart of Khartoum. A product has been developed in Tunisia that actually refines safe drinking water from thin air. Tech startup Cumulus designs their machines to be fully autonomous, and this feat of engineering is no exception. It is able to produce 20 to 30 liters of drinking water a day. This by refining the water vapor in the air and putting it through a system that kills harmful bacteria. The company believes that access to safe drinking water is not a luxury, but a human right. Their mission is to give the whole world access to drinking water, and they plan on further developing their ideas to replace current systems that are already in use. All right, I'm Nima Rajan, and that'll do it for your look at national and international news for today. Remember, for more news on demand, you could always visit our website and make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. See you later, Canada. Take care.